First off, before we start, I want to thank y'all for 200 subscribers. I didn't expect it to happen fast after we got 100, but thank you. Appreciate you guys watching and hope we can get to 1K soon. So as of November 2022, we have 7 idols in the Splatoon series. And today, we're going to find out who's the strongest. We'll be taking 2 things into consideration, those being physical strength and weapon strength. But all that out of the way, let's get started.
Marie.
From what we see in her cutscene from the final boss of Splatoon 2, Marie is clearly skilled with a charger. We see this when she dead-on headshots Callie on a moving platform. Now, in terms of game mechanics, the charger does not appear to take that much physical strength to use, rather dexterity and accuracy. Going off of that information, we can probably assume that Marie is more skilled in ranged combat rather than melee combat. So in terms of physical strength, she probably wouldn't be on the stronger side of characters. However, her weapon skill definitely puts some points on the weapon strength category. Callie is essentially the foil to Marie's dynamic and character. She tends to use a roller rather than a charger. And according to some of the dialogue from the first and second games, we can assume that Callie is at least on par with Marie's level of skill with a charger. As you probably know already, the roller is a melee weapon, and every member of that class, including the carbon roller, does appear to take a significant amount of physical strength. Going off of that, it is safe to assume that Callie is quite physically strong if she mains a roller. Another feat demonstrating her physical strength would likely be the cutscene where she makes the leap from DJ Octavio's Octobot King onto Sheldon's flying truck? 18-wheeler? I don't know what that's supposed to be, but suffice to say, Callie is stacked. But as you also know, when it comes to skill, dexterity, and sometimes even strength and damage, the roller is not always the best for it. So that likely would put her weapon strength on the lower end of the spectrum.
Marina.
Now there's probably 3 major things we know about Marina. She's a Brella main, she's incredibly intelligent, and she's got that K. She was part of the Octarian army. So knowing that Marina's a Brella main, a weapon that takes a pretty decent amount of skill, we can assume that her weapon strength is pretty high. And as we can see in the final boss of the Octo expansion, we do see that she has developed some sort of super bomb, which would only add to the weapon strength category. And because she was in the Octarian army, we can likely assume that she had to go through some sort of basic training, meaning that she is probably physically capable and strong. So all in all, Marina is pretty balanced when it comes to physical and weapon strength. Pearl is easily the most drop-kickable of the group. She is the smallest, knowing that our player character is about 5 feet tall. She's easily at least 3 to 4 feet tall. But we do know that she is a dually main, and dualies are very aggro, sort of mid-range to close combat type of weapon. And if you've played the game before, you can probably see that the dualies require a lot of explosive and reactive movements. However, since we only see our player avatar do these movements, we don't actually know if the size difference affects Pearl's strength and damage with the dualies. But she doesn't just have the dualies, no. She does have one very powerful weapon. Remember the killer whale from Splatoon 1? Went in a straight line, took up a huge part of the stage sometimes. So I want you to imagine that already kind of broken special on crack. Seriously, the Princess Cannon is likely one of the strongest weapons in the Splatoon series. The only drawbacks to it are that it's kind of unwieldy and it can only be used once. So strictly looking at her size, Pearl wouldn't be that hard to beat in a physical confrontation. However, Pearl is likely one of the strongest in the weapon category as she has the Princess Cannon and is a dually main.
Frye.
Now we know that Frye is a member of Deep Cut, and this pretty much goes for all of them, but we don't actually know what weapons they main yet. So for their weapon categories, we're going to be going off what they use in their boss fights. Now Frye, while she doesn't exactly look the part, does demonstrate some superior strength. Now if we're going off physical strength, we are able to see that she's able to keep a large Octo Stomp shell spinning with only her legs. But I also could be wrong about that, and she is just actually dancing on the tip of the Octo Stomp. But that still does require a lot of balance and focus, so physical strength is definitely there. She does also have command over a large fry of eels. That's what the group of eels is called. That's why her name is Fry. Specifically moray eels, which are up there with some of the most dangerous fish in the ocean. So it is likely that Fry has had her fair share of eel bites and attacks, especially considering that squid and octopus are part of their natural diet. So it's pretty safe to assume that someone taming those types of eels is probably very strong and or tough. Weapon strength is probably on the weaker side, as Fry's only weapon is really just the Octostomp shell that she spins on. When we see in the boss fight, it does look quite unwieldy and it can be used to throw off her balance. So Fry gets a bit of a minus in the weapon category. Those eels look scary though.
Shiver.
If you've played Splatoon 3 before, you can probably already tell that Shiver's main source of strength comes from her army of simps. No, but seriously, she is pretty strong. Now, Shiver is a shark tamer. If you've ever fought a shark, I'm sure you know that it's not an easy job. As we see in the game, the shark Shiver chooses to use for her boss fight is Master Mega, a Megalodon, I think? And from the way Master Mega bucks, jumps, and just in general moves explosively, it's also pretty safe to assume that he's probably quite difficult to hold on to. Now before you go and write a comment, yes, Shiver does use a saddle to ride Master Mega, but come on. The man has rocket boosters. You telling me that you're gonna hold on to that easily? I mean, Shiver clearly doesn't skip arm day if she's able to hold on to Master Mega flipping and turning in the air like that. Weapons wise, Master Mega, I guess, is the weapon, so we're gonna talk about that. Master Mega does seem to be very similar to the Moz boss from Salmon Run, seeing as he tends to swim in the ink and jump out at the player, attempting to snap them up in his jaws. Master Mega is also shown to be able to leap a pretty far distance across the stage you fight him on, as well as being able to fire a pretty powerful laser beam from his mouth. Assuming that the person fighting Shiver does not own a small fry, this does actually make her quite a formidable adversary. The only way you could realistically beat Shiver Master Mega is being on dry land. So all in all, Shiver's weapon strength definitely outweighs her physical strength, but she is definitely up there in terms of overall strength.
Big Man.
Now Big Man's a little bit difficult, partly because he's a completely unique species to the Inklings and Octolings, who share quite similar traits, but I'll try for y'all anyway. So from what I can see, Big Man's strength seems to differ. He's able to hold up that giant monitor on the news when you first open the game, seemingly with no need for fingers or opposable thumbs, but yet he can't get up when he gets flipped over during his boss fight. So in this case, I'm gonna be determining Big Man's strength through actual manta ray stuff. Now manta rays can grow to be a whopping 29 feet, but they are actually quite harmless and gentle towards people, which does actually fit Big Man's character, as he doesn't necessarily seem to want to fight you out of any malicious intent, rather the others being mad at him. However, manta rays are also quite agile and can move up to speeds of 22 miles per hour, given of course that they are submerged in some kind of water, or in Big Man's case, ink. And manta rays, somewhat related to sharks, are made of mostly cartilage and muscle, so they're very heavy and very strong animals. And considering Big Man's size compared to the player, Shiver, or Fry, it is safe to assume that he'd be pretty difficult to take down in a physical confrontation. Weapons wise, Big Man is actually kinda weak. Yes, he can turn into the big Phantom Manta that phases through everything with the exception of the player and ink, but the strongest thing about it seems to be that big rush attack that insta-breaks your player's shield. And yes, it can split into several copies of itself, but that doesn't really help its case as the copy's health depletes as they split more and more. And you could argue that the copies are meant to overwhelm the player and simply catch them in a bad spot, but other than that, they don't really do much damage to the player on their own. So essentially, Big Man is like a tank with very little to no ammo. So, final thoughts. Clearly all of these idols are pretty strong, whether it be in their own ways or just objectively. But from all of what we've seen, the strongest, the best, the most capable idol is
Marina.
So in my opinion, Marina is the strongest idol out of the 7. She demonstrates a lot of intelligence and is likely quite physically capable if she was in the Octarian army. But that of course is just my opinion. If you have anything different to say about it, please let me know, or just correct me on anything if I'm wrong. And please, at the end of the day, this is just for fun. But seriously, thank y'all for 200 subscribers, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you on the next one.